Okay, so when breathing, there's resistance and there's compliance. So resistance is where air is moving through the passageway, kind of like right now. There's something in my throat causing me to cough. Try and cough it up, mucus, that sort of thing. Resistance is proportional to the length of the passage and inversely proportional to the radius raised to the fourth power. So as the radius constricts, resistance greatly increases exponentially. But most of the airway resistance is normally in the upper airways. Think about it this way: it's easier to blow air down a short hose than it is a long hose because you've got more resistance. And it's easier to blow air down you know, a wide straw than a coffee stirring straw, right? Any conducting airway contributes to resistance, but the gas exchange airways do not, like the alveolus. And the sum total of radii are smallest in the upper airways. So, in most cases, active expansion is not possible because normal airways have little capacity for relaxation, and there's exceptions in the nares, larynx, and pharynx. The nares, you can flare your nostrils pretty easy. So if you're really out of breath, you can try and take more air in that way. Larynx and pharynx, you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it there, widening the, whatever that is, larynx or pharynx, I can't remember which. It dilates whenever you need you need air, periods of high demand of air. And it's not very apparent at rest, but very prominent during exercise or stress. Someone who's very out of breath, you'll see them flare their nostrils, widen their larynx and pharynx, that sort of thing. So our bodies are going to make all these airways have the least resistance and require the least amount of energy as possible. Because if you're going to do it for the rest of your life, you want to make it as easy and as efficient as possible. Things that don't collapse in the airway, like the trachea rarely collapses because it's made for air. It's got those cartilaginous rings. There's also bone in your nares, your nose. It's made for air. Okay, and then upper airways, if they're going to collapse, they tend to collapse during inhalation, not exhalation. But in lower airways, it's a bit trickier than that. You have to have air go from something of higher pressure to lower pressure. Everything always flows from high to low, most often. It's always a pressure difference in the lower airways. So that's why the diaphragm is the muscle that controls the breathing. When you inhale, the diaphragm is pulling your thoracic cavity down to create negative pressure around the lungs so that air comes from the outside into the lungs. And when you exhale, the diaphragm is pushing up to get that pressure back to normal so that all that air that came in goes back out again as carbon dioxide. That's what breathing is. Now, wheezing, if you're wheezing, that is a lower airway problem, most likely. If it's exaggerated on the inhalation, like then you've got an upper airway problem. But if it's exaggerated on the exhalation, then it's a lower airway problem. So you see this in asthma. What is asthma? Asthma is chronic chronic just inflammation of the bronchioles. Yeah, chronic bronchial inflammation. I mean, it stops depending on, you know, whether or not you're in a bad environment, allergic environment, you're inhaling bad air. You may have less trouble, but usually it's not the inhalation that has trouble, it's the exhalation, getting the air back out. But sometimes it's both, which is what I experience sometimes whenever I have asthma, because I do have asthma. Not often, though, thankfully. But horses are respiratory limited. We are actually pretty respiratory limited as well. Compared to dogs, dogs have very efficient respiratory tracts. They're very athletic animals. Horses are athletic as well, but they're usually limited by the respiratory tract, not usually limited by anything else. There's other things like smooth muscle contraction. This can increase the resistance of the lower airways. It can also decrease compliance if it's in the bronchioles. I'm not a doctor yet, but I'm in vet school to be one. So, yeah. Edema. Edema is fluid basically being where it should not be. It happens in the upper airways. It can happen in the lower airways too, I think, but it contributes to airway resistance either way. Smooth muscle increases resistance of the lower airways, and it also decreases lung compliance in bronchioles. And so scientists are kind of like, why does the smooth muscle exist in the respiratory tract? I guess they're still trying to figure that one out. Edema can lead to a stuffy nose. Yeah, I'm just kind of studying. I'm just trying to teach other people, but I'm actually trying to teach other people if they're interested. But me just going back over my notes and teaching it to my phone, I guess, or to anyone listening who actually wants to learn or is finding this interesting. It helps me learn it better as well. It helps me study it a little bit better. But anyway, edema can cause stuffy nose. And something interesting is that horses cannot mouth breathe. So horses don't breathe out of their mouth. If they get a stuffy nose, they are kind of out of luck. If we get a stuffy nose, we just breathe out of our mouth, right? But they don't have that option. That's not how their respiratory physiology works. But again, if the radius of the airway changes, it's drastically, it changes the ability to breathe. Increased airway resistance and structural failure also can increase resistance. Like if there's a lesion in the lung, or if the trachea collapses, or if there's a mass in your nose, nasal masses, or like the soft palate displaces on exhalation. Like, I don't know, I can't really, snoring. No, I'm not a doctor, not yet. I'm in vet school though. Going to be a doctor in 4 years. Sometimes inhaling with more force increases airway resistance. more. But, so what I was talking about, thank you. Yeah, if the horse's nose is blocked, I don't know. I assume so, since my professor told me they can't mouth breathe, but I mean, that'd be a really bad situation, so I don't know. Soft palate can be floppy. So what it does then is it catches the wind, and that's what causes snoring. You guys have probably heard of snoring, right? Like, that's where you go. What is that? What is that? That's literally your soft palate. Like, it's touching. I mean, I know that sounds weird, but it's touching your trachea or whatever, or it's like right here, and then the air is coming together, and it's closing. No air can get through until there's enough pressure to pull air through, and then it's like a flapping. Um, it's like a flapping motion, sort of. Anything, there's like pollutants, acid vapor, anything, many things can constrict the smooth muscle. So what is hyperreactivity? Hyperreactivity is narrowing of the airways more than usual. And it happens as a result of most airway diseases. It can also be a useful diagnostic test. If you administer a fixed dose of agonist to a patient, you can then measure the response, and if there's a higher response, then that indicates disease. Like that patient is developing airway hyperreactivity. Okay, some other things that cause that are histamine, prostaglandins, leukotrienes, ozone, acid vapor. So like if you're outside on a day where the weather's not that good, or you look on your weather app and it says, oh, the air quality is bad, that's something that can cause those. Lung compliance. What is lung compliance? Well, the lungs are like sponges. I was in lab just yesterday, and I was surprised at how spongy the lungs are. We have these dissected, freeze-dried, I think, lungs that are in these baskets at the east end of the classroom, yeah, or the laboratory, and they it was crazy because they're huge. They're dog lungs, but you can squeeze them. I mean, I didn't try, but I imagine you could. I was kind of feeling on them. They're just like sponges, very compliant. And what that means is they can move very easily. There's a lot of capability for expansion and contraction. It requires less energy to, shrink and expand them. If something has low compliance, that means it's stiff and it requires more energy to expand or contract. And to a degree, that energy used is recoverable. Think about this. If you were to fill a balloon with your mouth, and if you were to fill it to a certain point and then keep it filled at that certain point with your mouth, that energy, you are exerting energy to keep the air there. You have to keep trying to keep the air there, if that makes sense. And high compliance isn't always better. In the lungs, it's very helpful because we're trying to stretch those alveoli to get more air in there. But if my bones are compliant, that's not a good thing. if you have compliant bones, uh, that probably means you've got bones made of jello or something like that, and that's not good. Because, I mean, I don't know about you, but I like being able to walk. Um, if I had bones made of jello, very compliant bones, I probably wouldn't be able to walk because there'd be no structure to my body. Hi. Compliance is not linear. As the lung and the thorax stretches, more energy is required for a given volume of air. Pulmonary and thoracic stretch receptors kick in to prevent inappropriate wasting of energy. So that's why in normal breathing, we don't breathe as much as we could. Like I could take a deep breath and inhale my lungs as much as I can, and then I can exhale past the point of equilibrium where there's equal pressure inside and outside the lungs or the thoracic cavity. I could do that, and that would increase my tidal volume, that would increase my minute alveolar ventilation, but that would use a lot more energy. And so that's why, yeah, and there's cases where, like, sometimes you might just be sitting there and then you literally just you just sigh. That's what it's called. It's a sigh, and the physiological reason for that is to reset your alveoli. You kind of just stretch them out, get them back to normal, and so that's the reason for sighing. Now the reason for yawning, I'm not sure. I asked in class, and the professor wasn't sure either, but my theory is that it's kind of the same thing. I feel like the yawning would be, I don't know why I yawned. See, like even talking about yawning or seeing someone else yawn. I don't know why it's contagious, but my theory is that it is whenever you are not getting enough oxygen. Some people say, like, oh, it's when you're bored, oh, it's when you're tired. Could be, but why are you yawning when you're tired? Maybe you're not like forgetting to breathe, but you're just not breathing enough because you're just kind of tired, you know. Or when you're bored, you're just, you know, get on with it, and you're just not breathing because you're just like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to get out of here, or something like that. And so, Dino Hunter 360. Is it depression to have no emotion? No, that's apathy, actually. Okay. Compliance is not perfectly elastic. A perfectly elastic system. So, okay. The lungs are not perfectly elastic, but they're quite elastic. You get basically all the energy out or back out that you put in. However, not all. There is still some loss. But a perfectly elastic system, not found in nature, these don't exist in nature. You put in energy and you get all that energy back. Because I mean, it's like I don't know how to explain. But it's perfectly elastic, if that makes sense. Anyway. No, I don't think so. Um, if you're feeling apathy, I would suggest that you pray about it. I've felt apathy before. Um, yeah, we are very blessed, so, and life is just life. Life is lifing. And so, like, we go through hard times and stuff. I get that. I've gone through many hard times. I've felt very apathetic at times. I've not wanted to hang out with my friends often. And I don't necessarily think that's a good way to feel, but I have felt that way. Um, but yeah, just I would pray about it. Um, I hope things get better. Surfactant? No, I'm not gay. Surfactant overcoming Laplace. So there's the law of Laplace. Am I okay? I'm sniffing a lot. Well, yeah, I've got somewhat of a runny nose. Got somewhat of some mucus in my throat. I don't know. It just happens sometimes when I wake up. Well, more often than sometimes, really. I don't know why it happens. I try to drink a lot of water. I don't know. Chronic inflammation of the respiratory tract is actually why it happens. So there's probably something in the air. Yeah, I could have a cold. Um, yeah, it'll be okay. And I'm not a doctor yet, though. I'm in vet school. But you'll be all right, Dino Hunter. You'll be okay. Just just keep going. Keep going. Get close to God. Pray. Talk to Him. Thank you. Thank you for the congratulations. Um, but all things in this world are transient. The only thing that is not transient, aka the only thing that will be here forever, is God, Jesus. And so we need to get close to Him, in my opinion. Because, I mean, here's the thing, we can get all the money we want, we can get all the possessions we want. I respect that. We can get all the money we want, we can get all the possessions we want, we can, look for eternal life elsewhere, cryogenic stasis, I don't know. We can do all those things, but the constant is that we are going to die. One day we are going to die. Unless they figure out a way to stop that, but it hasn't happened yet, and I'm not necessarily counting on it happening because just the way uh, our brains work, like our the way the telomeres in our chromosomes, that's what it is. The way our telomeres work in our chromosomes, every time they duplicate to make new skin cells, to make new hair, to make new uh, whatever, keratin for our fingernails and hair, liver cells. Every time they duplicate, they get shorter and shorter, and they get less and less able to duplicate the same way. That's why people's hair that's why people's hair turns gray, white. It just keeps going on and on until we die. Am I scared that someday I'll die? Well, no, because I mean it's constant. It's gonna happen, and um, the Bible says that. Well, so Jesus was on the cross, for example, and he was talking to the thief on the cross right next to him, and the thief there was two thieves. One was like, why don't you just, you know, get yourself off this cross and go conquer the world if you're the Messiah, Jesus. And the other thief said to him, why are you mocking God? He's, you know, um, and then that thief that rebuked the other guy for mocking God, he said, Jesus, remember me when you get to heaven, or something like that. Or remember me when you get to paradise. I want to be with you. And Jesus was like, this day you'll be with me in paradise. And so, I mean, yeah, it's kind of, I'm not scared of it because I choose to believe that there's life after death, in that we are resurrected with, resurrected with the dead once Jesus comes back. And I mean, it's either that or I'd just be hopeless, Yeah. And here's my logic too. I can go my whole life living as a Christian. Yeah, I don't drink. Yeah, I don't smoke. Yeah, I try not to cuss. Yeah, I maybe try to avoid all the fun of this world, right? And I live my whole life, and it turns out there's no God. What did I lose? Not really anything. I mean, everyone dies. Everyone lives a life. Doesn't really matter if you lived a life full of glory and fame and riches versus if you lived a life as a beggar your whole life. Because everyone dies. And once you die, everything you gained is meaningless. All the money, sure, you can give it to your kids, and that's very honorable, very very good idea, but it doesn't change the fact that you're dead. And so your life is over, and so working for everything that you got is it was futile. Or there's the opposite. I could live my whole life not living for God, and then it turns out that He does exist, and that, well, I don't want to be in heaven and hear Him say, "Be gone, for I never knew you." That would be scarier than dying, because then you're sentenced to, you know, well, at that point, He's basically giving you what you wanted. You wanted a life without Him, and so He sends you to a place where His presence is not, which is hell, I guess. So I'd rather live my life as well as I can, and another thing is I've experienced so many things, that kind of just convince me that God exists. Like, for example, one miracle that I've experienced in my life is I was driving home back to where my parents live. I wanted to visit them. And it was from Stillwater, right? I was going from college back home, and I didn't bring a phone charger. And my phone was dying, and at this point I wasn't used to the roads. I was using Google Maps, and Google Maps drains the battery pretty quick. At least my phone battery. And my phone was at like 5% by the time I still had like an hour to go, and it lasted pretty long, those last 5% of the battery. And so but it wasn't going to make it. And so I prayed. I was like, God, I need help, because I don't know the way home without this map. So what I did, because I was so scared, I was like, I need this map. And so I even turned my phone off completely, because I was like, I need to save as much battery as I can. I don't trust my mind to get me back home. And it was crazy. I turned my phone off, and I was driving down the highway, and I made I made a I missed a I missed getting onto the there's a dam that goes from Stillwater to Tulsa. It starts with a K, I think. I don't know. Um, I don't know. Anyway, it's like a bridge. Uh, I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, I missed that off ramp or on ramp, and I literally there was no one else on the highway behind me, so I I made a U-turn. I drove back the way I came just a little bit to get back on that road. And I was like driving, if there was traffic coming toward me, like I'd be driving against the flow of traffic. I'd have to be dodging cars. It was crazy. But no one saw it happen, so um, yeah. Anyway, and so my phone died. Well, it didn't die. Sorry. So I turned my phone on because like I was like I don't want to do that again. I don't want to. I'm scared. I don't want to get lost. And so I was like, God, help me get home. I need my Google Maps though. And so my phone was at 1%, 50 minutes left. And then it went to 0%. And I had 45 minutes left to go. And I was just like, my phone's not going to turn off. Because if it turns off, then God didn't hear me. And I know that God hears me. And so I was like looking at my phone. I was just looking at the map. I was like, all right, I'm going to make it. Because I know God hears me. And that faith, I guess it worked because my phone stayed on for 45 minutes. Like, no one has to believe me. I don't care. I know what happened. And I've actually got a screenshot of when I got home. I screenshotted it said like you arrived, and then at the top right it says 0%. But yeah, my phone was at 0% for 45 minutes on Google Maps, very battery draining app, and I was driving home. No big deal. I made it home. I was like bawling my eyes out, thanking God. Once I saw that, or once I was in the place that I recognized, and it was great. That was the first, that was the first miracle that God did for me, and I was very grateful. Anyway, does being a man mean you don't cry? I've been told this, and I've been told this and that about being a man, and I don't want to be led astray. No, men, I cry all the time. I don't care what people think about me. I don't care if people think, oh, he's a wimp. Uh, I mean, I cry when I'm worshiping God. I cry when someone close to me dies. I cry when I think about my parents dying. I cry when I think about any part of my family dying. I cry whenever I'm at the vet clinic or at a veterinary or at my dad's vet clinic and he's euthanizing a cat. I hate that. Death sucks. I cry all the time. And crying actually, like it releases, it just releases hormones and stuff. Sorry, I think my internet went out for a second there. Do I like beef jerky? Yeah, I do. I like beef jerky. I would prefer beef jerky that is just beef, though. Beef and salt, you know. I don't much like all the sugar added. I mean, I get that that's part of the jerkyifying process. But Yeah, I prefer just beef. Has anyone ever made pemmican? I've made pemmican once. It was very, I don't know if I made it right. It was just dried beef, beef tallow, and salt. I don't think I put enough salt because um, it was very bland. Yeah. Anyway, I think being a man means you being yourself and you're proud of it. Oh, and you are proud of it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean the word proud, this is just a personal thing. I don't much like the word proud because like God hates pride, but I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you just yeah, be yourself, you know. Um, just yeah, just being content, I think, is a good word. Being content with yourself, being content with what you have. Um, but whenever I think of proud, I think of like, oh, I'm better than everybody. Look at me. I know that's not what you meant, but I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, crying. Sometimes you need a good cry. And you just, to, we need to show emotion. Now, there are times of apathy, like I was saying earlier, and that's okay. There's times when you're going through stuff, and there's times when you don't feel. Period. You don't feel. You don't feel emotion. You don't like someone could. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I've really experienced true apathy, but I feel like I've experienced some kind of apathy before. Because like I just things that used to make me happy didn't anymore. And I was just like, man, why am I here? That sort of thing. But just life is life. I don't know how else to say it. We just, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I know what you mean. No, I knew what you meant. Yeah, yeah. We're all equal. That's a good way of putting it. I mean, yeah, sure. Elon Musk's got billions and billions of dollars. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, Elon Musk, he's got billions and billions of dollars, but he's still a guy. He's still a man. He still probably suffers from the same things we suffer from: lying, um, mistakes, hatred, pride. Yeah, I mean, I experience pride sometimes. I got to check myself. I know I was just saying like pride isn't good, but I mean, heck, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't have times where I'm like, man, I'm cool or whatever. I'm really not that. I mean, I don't know. I'm you've got to be confident in yourself. When you have narcissism as well as self-hate, um, yeah, narcissism's another thing. I've thought before that I'm pretty narcissistic. I need to watch myself in that. Self-hate, though, I mean, you just got to be careful. Don't hate yourself because chances are you are probably experiencing something that someone else has experienced before. You're not alone. We are all in this life together. We all go through very, very similar things, whether it be a loved one passing away, um, a failed grade on an exam, or just, again, like being miserable. Everyone's gone through that at some point. I've been miserable before. I've had times where I'm just like, why am I alive? Why am I here? But the in those moments, the best thing you can do is return to God. Seek Jesus. Just pray. Talk to him. Yeah. One moment, sorry. Let me respond to your previous message here. Elon Musk has earthly treasures, but does he have spiritual treasures? That's a good point. We build up treasures on this earth, but again, like I was saying earlier, when we die, it's all gonna be for naught. It's all gonna be nothing, meaningless. Now, concerning your most recent comment, yeah, I've got some good friends too, and I'm very grateful for my friends and my family. But I can relate. I felt worthless before as well, and it's not a fun place to be. I can tell you that much, and I bet you're feeling the same. But you're not. You're not worthless. Every human has worth. Um, every living creature that God made has worth. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made it, right? Um, I know I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Just pray. Pray about it. Ask God. It could be puberty. Yeah, hormones, mood swings. It's definitely not reality dawning on you. You are not worthless, my friend. God made you for a reason. You have worth. That's for sure. And so if I were you, I'd pray, talk to God. You may not have prayed before, and that's okay. I didn't pray before, I prayed at the dinner table and all that stuff, but I never really knew who I was talking to. Just pray in the name of Jesus, and he'll respond. It might not be audibly, and it might not be for a while, but you'll start to feel things, and you'll start to think things, and you'll be like, oh, that's not something I normally think. God hears you, my friend, and yeah, I've worried the same thing. I've been like, he's probably not hearing me. But the thing is he's got infinite hearing. It's crazy. He's got infinite wisdom, infinite everything. He's everywhere, at all times, at the same time. It's crazy to think about. And so, while he's right next to me, he's also right next to you. We just can't see him because the Bible says no man has seen God and lived. Now we've seen, we saw him as he came down as man, but that's because he robed himself in flesh. Hey Blitz, how you doing? And yeah, but you're not worthless, man. You're not. Or I think you're, man. I don't know, but you're not. You're not worthless. You have great worth. I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Blitz? I would just pray and ask God, like, what do you want me to do with my life? What would you like me to pursue? What career path? Lead me to a church. Lead me to people who are, uh, you know, who care about me and hope me to care about them, that sort of thing. Yeah, I've been told that. I've been told that I'm pretty good with therapy. Blitz, I am not a doctor yet, but in 4 years I will be a veterinarian. DVM, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine. So actually, what I was doing is I was reviewing um, my physiology and histology notes, but and I might need to get back to that because I need to study a lot. I've got an exam this coming Friday for anatomy, and I'm not looking forward to that. That one's it's gonna be hard. I might actually be able to. Thank you, Blitz. I appreciate that. I don't know if I can show all the stuff I need to know because this is, well, it's technically cited because all the citations are on. It's a book. So it's this great book. I know it's backwards, or at least it looks backwards. It says Guide to Dissection of the Dog and Cat, and it is by my professor, Dr. Jill C. Ackerman, DVM, PhD. And yeah, but let me show you all the stuff I need to know. This is absolutely crazy. It's a lot to learn. This much stuff is going to be on the exam. Look at all these pages. It might not look like a lot right now, but let me flip through them. So I need to know the Heinz ring. All right, this is we did the thoracic limb earlier. Earlier this year. That was our first exam. I did pretty okay on it, but now I got to learn, like, it feels like 4 times as much. But anyway, everything highlighted and underlined is something I have to know. So look at all the stuff on that page. And then look at all the stuff on that page. And then this page. And then this page. And then this page. And then this page with the muscle function and attachments. This page. This page. This page. This page. This page. Everything highlighted and underlined. Not the things that are just underlined, but everything that's highlighted and underlined. This page. So these gray highlights count too, by the way. This page. 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 This page is a little different. I need to know the blood supply and innervation of all these muscles. This page. 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 This is probably getting annoying at some point. This page. This page. This page. This page. Yeah, oh my gosh, I mean, it's getting like more and more. This page. This page. And finally, this page and this page. And that's everything I need to know for this exam. And there's more. There's more in the lectures. I'm pretty sure. Like, I need to know clinical applications. Crazy. Crazy. Now, a lot of the stuff in the lecture is actually contained in that book itself. But, like, this is vet school. You guys may have heard that med school is hard, or you may have heard that vet school is hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's not easy. Or, I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm blessed, though. God's been good to me. And so far, I've been doing pretty well. But I need to study a lot. You want to become a song maker? That's cool. What kind of songs? And thank you for the prayers to get through the test. I appreciate that. Thank you all. Oh, really? That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, I encourage you to keep doing them, or keep making songs if that's your passion, if that's what God has for your life. That's awesome, man. It's real good. But I need to get back to game development. That's awesome. That's what my brother wants to do. He became a computer engineer. Thank you, Blitz. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I am going to keep studying but I'll try and answer you guys as I'm going. So, surfactant is needed in the lungs. This is the law of Laplace. Again, it's spelled Laplace. But basically what surfactant is, it's like a liquid. Think of soap, okay? Soap is a type of surfactant. Detergents are a type of surfactant. What surfactant does is it reduces surface tension, and it increases compliance, increases lung compliance. It prevents the collapse of a small wet structure like the lungs or like the alveoli. Yeah, definitely the alveoli. And it's basically a soup of phospholipids. Okay. And there's like 400 million alveoli working together. The small alveoli, that's cool. The small alveoli try to stay small, but the bigger alveoli are the ones that do most of the work. They kind of get bigger. It's kind of interesting. It's a little weird. Okay. There's abnormalities though, like pulmonary fibrosis. My grandpa actually had this, and he passed away because of it. Your lung compliance decreases because the lungs literally become more fibrous. And what that does is it increases respiratory effort, and you end up breathing shallow, like like that, you know. It's much lower tidal volume, increased respiratory rate, but um, the same, whatchamacallit, same alveolar, same minute alveolar ventilation. That's what it is. And if you're deficient in the surfactant, very bad things happen. You just can't breathe, pretty much. So, like, people who are born prematurely, they have to be given um, artificial surfactant. I don't know if artificial is the right word, but like surfactant that's made. And it works. It's just temporary because your body's supposed to make it, and it's got a relatively short half-life, which means it doesn't last that long. Yeah, surfactant and soap are similar. I mean, soap is a surfactant. It's detergents are a type of surfactant. Basically, your lungs are full of soap. Think of it like that way, but it's not exactly soap. It's something else. It's made for your lungs, and it helps you breathe. It basically, I don't know. Think of like think of think of uh, I'm trying to think. Hold on. Okay, I can't think of like. Hold on. Okay, so oil derricks. No, hold on. That's a dumb example. Hold on, I'm just gonna look it up on the internet. Okay. Okay, so think about a car. So if you don't change your oil in your car, what happens? Well, then there's not that lubrication, and so the parts start cranking. The gears start things. Yeah, it could blow up. Bad stuff starts happening. It's kind of like that with your lungs. They work a whole lot better with the lubrication of the surfactant. So that's what that's for. Okay. There's a primary and secondary surfactant deficiency. Primary was what I was talking about with neonates, you know, babies who are born. If the babies are born normally, then they should be fine. They should have the surfactant in their lungs. But if they're born prematurely, because they've been using the placentation, the placenta, the mother, to respire instead of the lungs, like they've been getting their blood from the mother instead of making their own oxygenated blood, then if they're all of a sudden born prematurely and they don't have the mom, that's not good, right? Because their lungs aren't ready yet. They didn't develop that surfactant, and so they have trouble breathing unless they're given artificial surfactant. But then secondary surfactant deficiency is pneumonia. if you get pneumonia, your lungs fill with fluid. very, they're very, very tough. It becomes hard to breathe. Why did the lion go to therapy? I don't know. Why? Because he found out his wife was a cheetah. I get it. I get it. I get it. That's pretty funny. That's a good pun right there. Okay. I gotta get back to studying. True pulmonary emphysema. Ooh, okay, I'm not gonna talk about that. Okay, we're done with phys and histo. For at least for this. That's another thing, guys, is I've got 5 more videos to do after this one. A limbo champion walks into a bar. He was disqualified. I think I get it. I think. Because he didn't do the limbo, right? Is that why? That's pretty funny. These are really good. These are the types of jokes that I like because they're so... Sorry, that I love because they're so innocent, Like, so many people joke about all these nasty things, and I used to joke about those same things, but one day I was just like, I don't know, I'd rather not be that way. But yeah, these are good jokes. Okay. Now, on to... Yeah. Physiology. Okay, immunology. Okay. What was it? 17th? I think so. Yeah, 17th. Okay, all the types of cells, CD. Wait, no, this is the review. Okay. My wife told me to stop listening to I Am a Believer, but then I saw her face. I don't get that one. I don't get it. Can you explain it to me? Then I saw her face, and I am a believer. Oh. I think I get it now. That's a good one. Hello. Alright, am I Ronaldo? Are you talking about Cristiano Ronaldo? Is that how you say his name? No, I'm not. But thank you for thinking I know. Do a sweet. Well, thank you. How did the barber win the race? I don't know. How did he win the race? Ronaldo is better than Messi? Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't know much about football, or as the Americans call it, soccer. I am an American. He knew a shortcut. That's a good one. That's a good one. I look like Ronaldo? Thank you. MAGA? Okay. Hey, guys, really quick, if you want to keep watching, I'm going to end this live stream and start another just for my sake, because I'm going to move on to all the other stuff I've got to do. Because the immunology I didn't have to do today. It was just a review of the test I already took, or review for the test I already took. But if you want to watch, I'm going to start a live stream right after this one, like immediately as I stop this one. So if you want to watch it, I guess go to my channel and you'll see it here in a second. You might have to refresh a couple times, but I'll see you guys in a bit if you want to watch it. Thanks for watching.